Consciousness, the final frontier. These are the voyages into the universe between your ears. Our mission, to explore collective wisdom, seek out amazing secrets, and spread the message of personal potential.
Hello, everybody. I'm Tim Starr, your host for The Universe Between Your Ears. I am here with my co-host, Mr. Gabi Musheyev.
Hello to everyone again. Great to be here.
And we have a special guest with us here, Sheila Sutherland. Sheila is a certified life and relationship mastery coach, professional educator, speaker, podcaster, best-selling author, and is the only licensed O-Shift facilitator in Canada. We have to be careful how we say that.
Yes.
Sheila believes that the relationship with self is the foundation upon which everything in your life is built, and she's on a mission to take the selfish out of self-care and self-love, as you deserve to be a priority in your own life. Amen. Sheila empowers people to effectively manage their emotions through shifting their mindset, behaviors, and communication so that they can live a more authentic, connected, and vibrant life. Sheila, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Tim and Gabby. I've been looking forward to this for so long.
As you should.
Yes.
This will be the highlight of your year.
Without a doubt.
At least to this point. So, yeah, you and I did have a short chat on the phone, and we wanted to make sure that, it was a good fit for both sides, and because we met through a system.
Yeah, a service of some sort.
Service, that's the word I was looking for. I knew it started with an S. And
it's the universe. It's the law of attraction that brought you guys.
It is.
Whatever the vehicle that was used is irrelevant.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. It's just the fact that we're here now.
Yeah. But, in conversation, it became really clear really quickly that we're kind of all on the same mindset and heading in the same direction on topics. So I'm glad to have you here, and I think we're going to have fun.
Well, we will make it so.
Yes. All right. So let's start with O-Shift. And right behind that, every time I see it, it's like, oh, you can also use shift happens.
Well, we're so used to saying the other.
Yeah.
I'm sure, and I'm not too sure what our language restrictions are here.
Nah, be yourself. So.
Okay.
You can say shit. I don't think it's
okay. Because we all have those moments in time. Like some of us, it could be hourly. Sometimes, it's where we sit there and go, shit. Something happened that will throw us off in some way. And I think more times than not, we've had those moments where, how they say if you stub your toe in the morning, the rest of your day just kind of goes downhill from there.
Right.
But that's a choice. And I think a lot of people don't realize that's a choice. They give their power away to, whomever or whatever may be around them. So what O-Shift is all about is shifting that mindset. Okay, so something happened. Now you have a choice in how you're going to respond to it. Is it going to be choice A or choice B? And one could be positive, one could be perceived as negative. But it's then you then make a conscious decision which way you want to go. This isn't something that says you always have to react in a positive way. Yes, that would be awesome. But you know what? There's some times in life you're kind of like, you know what? No, I don't feel like being too positive right now. I think I'm just going to be crabby.
Yep. We're human.
And again, that's our choice if we choose to do that, but also accept what the outcome for that is going to be. So through my O-Shift program, we go through several different layers of that, and I give a lot of different strategies of how in the moment, no matter what happens, that you can shift that and make that conscious decision as to what direction you want to go and consciously create your reality.
So this is, I'm glad you took a breath right there so I can jump in, because I think what's going on in my head is making that change, making that shift is Somebody's got to train him to catch.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
it
that's
never
all right.
fails.
I'm loving it.
That's all
As long
right.
as I'm on record, a train will come by.
I'm loving it.
That's okay.
That's how CIA finds people. You know, oh, the train, background noise. Oh, that okay. She's in Vancouver.
Yeah, they can now triangulate my locations.
Yes. It's critical. But what I was saying is making that shift to just being reactionary to everything, to actually then thinking about it in the moment so that you can make a choice in the moment.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening in a quick way for much of anybody. Do you have any sort of secrets that
Well, you know, the one of the choices on there, because I'm just trying to, I'm madly scanning to see if I have my card close by, because I actually give everyone who comes to the program, they have a little card that they can carry with them that has all the possible ways to shift on it. And the F, as you'll notice on any of the marketing, the F is actually a different color than the rest, because all of our strategies begin with F. So it's when it says that you're making an F in shift, we can think one way, or the F actually stands for the strategies. I just don't see it there. But one of the first ones is just breathe. You know, because a lot of times, like you said, when we're being reactionary, you're in a knee-jerk situation. So right away, we allow our emotions to just take us on whatever that roller coaster is. Sometimes when something happens, we just need to stop, take a deep breath, kind of shut our lips for a minute so, you know, nothing sneaks out that we don't want it to, and just give it a second. Allow your brain to process whatever this is, and then just to slow down whatever the situation is. And then we can actually make probably a more intellectual choice of whatever we're going to do next. But we are so used to reacting on the knee jerk and just whatever happens, happens. And then a lot of times we're in that mode of then having to clean up the mess that we've created. Yeah. You know, like we've all done it. We've all of a sudden said something, and the moment it left our lips, we're like, crap, I shouldn't have said that.
Yep.
You know, so if it's as simple as just stop, take a breath, and don't say anything for a couple of minutes, and then react. I mean, that's one surefire way.
You're going to find out a couple of minutes is a long time.
Yeah, well, exactly, right? Yeah. And when I say a couple of minutes, I kind of go,
yeah, no, I get you.
Minutes.
A couple of minutes is probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And that's a technique that I tend to use naturally, I think, is just, you know, you're aggravated or frustrated or whatever in the moment, but,
well, a lot, and it comes down, like you say, you know yourself. You have that self-awareness piece to that. A lot of people don't, you know, again, because they're always they're always reacting on the defense. Right. So instead of being proactive with something, so it's, you know, maybe spend some time and looking at back some of the situations you've been in, rather, you know, if you know your relationships are always, you know, kind of stressful and tenuous in some way, sit there and kind of go, okay, how do I always react in that situation? And really start having some reflection there so that you kind of go, oh, that's it. Maybe it's a certain word that your partner says that triggers you every time. And I know we all have partners that, you know, like to poke the bear every once in a while. They know what your triggers are if they've been together long enough.
Yep.
And it could be, you know what, honey, maybe if you can you choose a different word, because you know that word kind of sends me off the rails. Can you find a different way to express yourself? But it's not until you've spent some time in reflection knowing that, oh, that word triggers me for whatever reason, that you can even express to your partner a better way of communicating.
And you're not, I can't believe that you're going to be able to do that in the moment in the beginning.
No, and at the beginning, oh heavens, no. I wish I could say that, you know, snap of your fingers and it's all, you know, all going to be better. This is a practice. You know, I mean, I've had people now, gotta think now, it's going to be probably about 8 months now that they've been working with it. And honestly, when I'm doing any one-on-one coaching, I always tell them it takes you a good 3 months of doing something consistently before you kind of stop having to be so conscious about doing something. Like it starts to become a little bit more of a habit. you stop having to think about it so hard. But it's about the 3-month mark that you start seeing the results. And every time I say that to people, they kind of go, oh, yeah, sure, whatever. But every single time, every single client goes, oh, I know what you mean. I now understand. Because it's literally at that 3 to 4 month mark that light bulb goes on.
Right.
Because your body has actually started to really process it. Because it's all about retraining our brain.
Right.
You know, we talk about this universe that's, 8 inches big, but sometimes that's the biggest leap we have to take.
Yeah.
But it takes time to reprogram it. We've had, I'm going to guess we're all kind of around in that same age range. We've had a couple decades-ish of practice of maybe doing something that didn't really serve us too well. We're not going to change that overnight.
Right. One of the fun experiences, at least in my experience, has been when you get a realization moment that, oh, I did something different this time around without having to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you realize you're making progress on something that you've had, like you said, you had to consciously think about doing. All of a sudden you realize, hey, I didn't think about it this time. I just went with the new program.
Yeah. It's like I can tell you like a little story about one of my clients. I would say he was someone who, for his 60 years, has always been very reactionary. And so he came kind of begrudgingly, I think, to the workshop, kind of like, oh, it's just another one of these kinds of things. He was coming just to support me, not thinking he was going to get a whole lot out of it, because I've known him for a few years. But he actually really as it's 2 days, we were kind of going through things, and he's like, oh, maybe I could do some of this. And so he was still kind of, only dipping the toes kind of into it. And then probably, I don't know, a couple months later, I was on the phone with him. He was driving, so he was hands-free. He wasn't holding on to the phone. And all of a sudden, I hear him slam on the brakes. And I was like, oh, my God, what just happened? And he's like, oh, this car in front of me, he didn't even see that I was here, and didn't check the mirrors, and I had to slam on my brakes, or she would have ran into me. And I'm like, well, how are you doing? Because I'm expecting him to start having these expletives, just starting to come out. And he was like perfectly calm. And I'm like, who are you? And he's like, I know, like, I don't even feel rattled by this. And he's like, oh my God, did I just shift? And I said, I think you did. Yeah. And he's been having a lot more of those. Like his wife actually keeps coming back to him and going, I don't even know who you are anymore, because he's not reacting the way that she's been, what have they been together now? 40 years they've been together now. And he's showing up as a different person. And it's quite surprising for him. Like nothing seems to knock him off the rails anymore. Like he's just so much more calm. He deals things with so much easier. Like that's the whole, water off the duck's back kind of thing. He's just flowing with things so much better. And we were actually talking last night. It's not something that's part of the program, but it seems like it's kind of a side effect anyways, because he's been really struggling on the whole idea of journaling. Because again, 60-year-old man's hasn't really been brought up in this whole, connecting with your emotions and writing down your feelings kind of thing, right? So he had been struggling with it. But over time, like he was saying last night, he goes, now he says, I sit down, the pen just starts moving, things start flowing. I'm not even thinking about it. And it's just, I'm sleeping better. And I'm like, that's the benefit. Like, I can't really tell you that on the onset, because everyone's going to respond a little bit differently. But I'm watching him and all these these little transformations that are happening in him. He's thinking that they're quite miraculous, because he's worked a lot of other programs before and it just hasn't gotten results. And I look at him and I'm like, you're my poster child now, because this is someone who'd be like the hardest client ever. And he's seeing so many positive benefits, and his family is seeing the ripple effect of it. That, I wholeheartedly, I wouldn't have started the program to begin with if I didn't really believe in it, but it's showing the results.
do you find, Sheila, that people who had a moment like that, an awakening of sorts, right, join your program, or they come to the program, having found themselves in quite a bit of trouble, and so now they're looking for solutions, but they haven't realized it.
Yeah, it's usually, and that's kind of where when I look at my clients, that's who more that I want to work with, is the ones that are like, I just want something different, and I don't know what to do. I'm tired of living my life this way. I'm tired of feeling this way. There has to be an answer. I just don't know what. And so far, those are the people who are being attracted into the group. I'm not saying that if, I've been doing, someone's been doing personal development for years isn't going to get something out of it. They will. But it's those ones that are just, what I call just kind of waking up. Those are the ones that excite me the most. Because it's like, to me, it's like you're talking about the possibilities are endless.
Well, the people that are kind of, they've backed themselves into a corner, right? Resisting everything new, whatever, or they think they've tried everything, and they finally, they are figuring out they don't have their own answers. So then they're willing to give up and give in to whatever. Yeah.
Which is in itself quite a step,
Oh,
yes.
Okay, I don't have all the answers. I don't know what the answer is, but I'm open to starting to listen.
Yeah, I need some help from someplace else.
Yeah.
Well, just making that one decision is something that people need to be congratulated for, because that one step, and like as you said, Gabby, can sometimes be the hardest step. And I think, for maybe slightly easier for women because we're kind of more programmed to ask for help where men aren't. But, I think we all get to that point sometimes, and unfortunately, sometimes it has to have a situation where we're, kind of brought to our knees, so to speak. And it's like, I just can't do this. But it's good to know that there's help out there. You just, it's just knowing where to look.
And also because there's so many things that they could come up with to get themselves feel better, right? Without ever having to awaken, right? I mean, okay, so I'm going to take dance lessons. I'm going to go, jump from a plane, whatever that thrill.
Distractions.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could just go from one to the next, and friends give you advice. Oh, you know what? You should get out more. You should travel, or whatever the replacement, right?
Yeah.
Only delays it, right? So
yes.
You still find yourself in that situation just a little later. So now coming to this, with all these distractions, basically, I was saying that people will need to go through each one of them and see to the end that, that didn't give me what I was looking for, and then go to the next, and that whole journey needs to be completed before they say, listen, I have tried so many things and nothing works. So it's quite a,
for some people, that's going to be exactly it. I'm
sure. Long
Long
journey, right?
Yeah.
Well, and then that's just it. And and the reality is some people never get to that point.
Yep.
They'll just keep, there's got to be one more thing. There's got to be, one more way I can, like you say, find a building to jump off of, or go try this extreme sport or something. And it's, it does, as you said, it's a distraction, and it distracts you in that moment, but it's not lasting. So it's
the whole pharmaceutical industry is thriving on this. I mean, look, one of the most amazing, profitable industries out there. I mean, they're all medicated. So we are, you and us together with you, up against a really powerful adversary.
It is, right? When you've got, when you've got like the government backing, like I say, the big pharmaceutical companies, and I will hopefully this, like I say, you were talking about the people tracking what you're saying. They're not going to like me at all, because I am not a fan of the pharmaceuticals, but it's just like something just to it's a Band-Aid solution. That's all it is. It's good for the moment, but it doesn't get to the root of why you're there. And I'm not going to blanket statement on a lot, on all medications are like, because there's some you have to have, to keep you alive. And then I also kind of view that way almost with a lot of the different types of addictions that are out there as well. Again, we get caught up in them because we're trying to avoid something else, or we're trying to smooth something over or push something down. But it's not going to go away until we meet it head on. And I mean, and let's be real too, whenever you're hitting something like that head on, it's not fun and games. You know, it takes courage. It takes you to be brave enough to actually maybe look at some of that maybe dark moments in your life and see what learning we can take out of it. But once you've shed light on some of those shadows, they now don't have power over you. You know, there's, I'm sure you've heard about Pandora's box.
Sure.
You know, we all hear the saying about, oh, we don't want to open Pandora's box because it's all these bad things, you know, will come out. And we've seen the little cartoons and everything of all these like demon kind of things that all come flowing out of the box. The one part that most people don't realize is after that's all come out of the box, there's actually a gift that was at the bottom of the box. And it's that part that's never told, right? Because that's part of the, not part that doesn't make a good bedtime story. But it's knowing that once you've dealt with all of that stuff, you get a beautiful gift at the end. And if we focus more on that, maybe more people would go, okay, you know what? I'm going to do this.
Really a gift that's worth all gifts. This peace of mind, this feeling of bliss, right? I'm sure your friend, you know, it's just quieting that irritation that usually goes on, right, in people's minds, that humming, low-level irritation, right? It's just quieting that down and breathing for the first time freely and saying, I'm at peace, and I'm just, anything I look at, I'm in love with it. Life is becoming so much brighter and colorful and fulfilling. That's a real gift, huh?
Oh my gosh, yes.
You know, and then you go to all these travels, and then you go to all these jumping from the planes, and as Esther Hicks says, breathing and eating is amazing. You know, breathing and making love is amazing experience. Yes, eating is good, but breathing and eating, you know,
just don't do the two of them at the same
much
time.
Better.
No.
Doesn't work out well.
And I at first, like, and I talked about this with a friend who didn't understand what that meant, right? And I tried to then translate, you know, what exactly are we talking about here? Being present, you know, being present. So what I'm trying to understand is, when you have your program and you have these people join your program, are you doing this in a group setting, or are you doing like one-on-one coaching with them? And how does that work when there's a distance between you guys? Are you doing this online as well?
I am. Yes. I mean, up until this point, it's mostly been live. So a live 2-day workshop, but I want to transition that into a 6-week program, because it's 6 separate modules that we do. And it takes about an hour and a half to go through each module. So I'd like to, you know, for people who are, you know, not local to me, to be able to take advantage of the program. So it would be then, like I say, a weekly group program. I'd want to keep like I say, I haven't done it yet, but this is what the vision looks like for it, is to keep the groups only to about 10 people. You know, because there's a lot of interaction, there's a lot of discussion that happens, and I want people to have that really safe place where, because you're going to be really vulnerable with some of the questions. So it's not like I want this, you know, hundreds of people in there. I mean, I've seen it done with a room of 200 people, but I like them. For me, I liked the more intimate setting where we can just truly share with each other some of the things that are coming up, and then I can coach you through them as they're happening.
So those workshops, they need to travel and they need together and they spend some time together, right?
Yeah, when you're doing it live, yes.
Up to 10 people, yeah.
Yeah, but when I do it live, I usually have up to about 20 in the room. But for the online group, I'm going to be using Zoom, exactly like we're using here. So that way, it doesn't matter where in the world, you know, you are.
I want to jump in on this because I like what you just explained, because it's the same thing that I have been thinking about for a while. Is I want to do a combination of live and online or phone based, and because what we're trying to do is reprogram these programs that we have incorporated for decades.
Yeah.
And if you give somebody 6 modules, just here's the fire hose, take it.
Yeah.
You know, first of all, they cannot possibly retain anything, you know, substantially in volume. And then you don't have time to process anything.
Exactly.
And that in-between time is hugely important. And it gives it in smaller pieces, bite-sized chunks. You can consume that, you can digest that, you can think about it, you can practice it. You have time to put it into action, you know. And it's got to work better. It's got to.
Yeah, that's why I'm really looking forward to doing it as a 6-week program as opposed to 2 days. Because when we're doing it in those 2 days, it's an intense 2 days, you know, because you're dealing with a lot of emotions that come up. You're dealing with a lot of your personal stories of, you know, things like you say that have been going on for decades. And it is hard. It's like, I think it's too much.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yes, you're still going to walk away with some of it, but did you get all of it that you needed? So spreading it over 6 weeks, like I say, it gives you a full week to really retain the information, to try it out, to practice. And then, you know, when we have the call, you actually get to, well, what questions did you have? What didn't work? Like what can we work through? And then you still have, a few more days before we then jump into the next module.
Right. And when you're live on one of those all-day seminar, you don't have, I don't have questions in the instant. It's like, that makes me think, you know, very rarely, every once in a while, but most of the time you just don't have time to come up with questions. And
it's usually when I'm driving home.
There's always somebody at the mic.
Yes.
I got 14 questions on this new thing you just brought up. I got, like, shut up. I don't even know what they just said. How can you have questions?
Yes.
And by the time they're done, you're like, I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That whole thing, you know, I was reflecting on this. Like, there's a group setting, and you know, 6 people or 10 people are participating online, right? Mm-hmm. And you'll always have people who are like more emotional, easily inspired, right? So they share a lot, and they will be like, oh my God, you know, I've had this experience and that experience or whatever. And I would be sitting there like, wow, I mean, they're outperforming me, you know, I'm falling behind. I'm not seeing any of that. Mm-hmm. So that right away introduces, you know, how we were brought up this way. We were brought up in the competitive environment, right? So
the comparisonitis hits.
Yes, exactly. You're like, you're measuring yourself now. Yeah. You see, you're measuring every like to measure, you know. So that part, I mean, how do you take this out of this whole system? You know, I mean, it's inevitably going to be there, and it's going to be detrimental, you know, to the progress of people, right?
Yeah.
Is that about like matching people, maybe matching them? Some people could or should not be matched together in the same group, maybe. I don't know.
That would be easier done if I knew everybody, like I say, but if I have people coming from all over North America, it's a little bit harder. Mm-hmm. The only way I could see around that, because no matter, you can put any group setting together, there's always going to be at least one person who will never speak up. Like they're not comfortable talking in a group setting. It's just, when I used to teach in the classroom, you know, I would always have those students that they would have all these questions, but they would never once put their hand up to ask the question. But I always made myself available outside of the time. You know, so they always came at lunch or before school or after school, where we could just talk one-on-one. Same thing would happen here. You know, so if they're not comfortable even within a group of 10, you know what, they can email me and go, can we just have a quick little chat on our own? You know, sure, of course, that's what I'm here for. Mm-hmm. But I would really make sure at the beginning that they know that's an option. Yeah. You know, because my whole purpose is not to pump as many people through a program as I can. That doesn't serve anybody. I mean, well, some people would say that would serve your wallet, but that's not my motivation for this. My motivation is to help as many people as possible to live their best lives, which means that I'm going to, there has to be flexibility in how you're delivering the information. They say, I learned that in my 10 years of being a high school teacher, so it's not something that's foreign to me. I have many different, we all learn in different ways and different, paces, and it's just being open to meet your students wherever they are.
I just, on a personal note, when I see those people who are always broadcasting how much they've gotten out of this last thing we just talked about, and I've just leveled up, ching ching ching, I discount everything they say because it's too, if you're that advanced, that quickly, that completely, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So I don't believe it.
No.
It's,
like I say,
and then you see them at the next one too, saying the same things.
Yeah, well, exactly. Change doesn't happen immediately. Like what I think we mentioned a few minutes ago is, it's taken you a couple or 3 or 4 decades to get where you are. It's going to take some time to undo that. I'm not saying it's going to take 3 or 4 decades again to undo that, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen within a week. It takes consistent and persistent action. Because I see when you're looking at retraining how your brain responds to something, you got some programs you need to override.
Hi, this is Tim Starr. Thanks for joining me and Gabi on the universe between your ears. We really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us for a little while. And we'd like to see you again. So be sure to subscribe wherever it is you're consuming the podcast from, whether it's YouTube or Stitcher or iTunes or whatever the hell else is out there. We want to see you again. We also want to hear from you. So let us know what you think of each episode. Let us know if you got an idea for a future episode that you think would be just killer. Absolutely, let us know. All right? Thanks again, and we will see you next time around. Bye-bye.